Hello all. There's an old window that I sometimes see in the Astral relating to the Second World War. Clear farting. No. There's an old window that I sometimes see relating to the Second World War. It's one I never intend to take, but sometimes when I look at the world stage, I am tempted because changing timelines, shifting from one universe to another for me is remarkably easy. It is one of the perks of this particular condition, being a multi minded person. And there is a timeline that I sometimes see. It is one of those timelines that when I am communicating in the astral with these axis powers, I sometimes run across, they are sometimes interested in. They want to know more about it. And it is roughly 3 months before the end of the Second World War. And Hitler offers to make me one of his generals, the pacifist general, if you will, the one who didn't go to the military academy. And he says that he knows that I can't win this war, that it is not within my power to do so, but that he trusts, or rather orders me to delay both sides as long as possible. This is because I've worked some amount in the astral with these people, and I have occasionally mentioned some things they could have done that would have slowed down the Allies. After the Battle of Stalingrad, at the latest, most likely the winter of 1941, there is no way to win. But perhaps in 41, with good coordination and intelligence, it might be possible, but it is very unlikely. So it is 3 months to the end of the Second World War, and I am in this timeline offered not unconditional rule of the military, just being, one of the top generals, being in those briefings. I wouldn't perhaps be in all the private discussions and seminars, but that I would be one of the fairly top guys. And it is a tempting window to really go down fighting, to really ally with somebody who opposes this insanity that we see, and really go down fighting, switch all of my energy sources, all the populations that I have, literally warp out of this world and land in the Second World War. It is a tempting window, but it is one that I would not take as long as there is the large scale gas camps and such. And when I talk about this in the astral with Hitler and the German High Command, they are the type of mollified leaders, the type of people who are apologetic. They admit that they do not know politics, that their path may not have been the right one, but they are in hell. They are repeating the last days of the war infinitely, and then in the time when they are not, they are inundated with torture, and they are just asking for a way out. And I am, in my way, I am helping them to reincarnate into good hosts and into loving situations and into positions where they are observed enough to know that they don't gain that kind of power again. But sometimes I truly am tempted, because when you look at the situation, perhaps 3 months, I would consider Operation Neptune to be the furthest back that this window goes. There are so many things you could do to the Allies if you switch Germany to a stance of bothering them to the end instead of trying to overcome them. You could do some pretty wicked shit. You could drag the war out for perhaps 6 or 3 months more, but it is to me not worth it unless it's like the final stand that I choose to make. If the world ever comes down to it and the situation turns bad enough, it might be possible for me to timeline shift into that one and literally go down in the bunker with the old guy. That being said, I hate his politics and much of what he stands for enough that I don't want to do it. But the thought of like an avenging angel appearing in the bunker and saying that I'll do from the future with my knowledge what we can, but you will still die. We will give you some more days, perhaps weeks, perhaps even months, so you can say goodbye to your loved ones and complete your legacy. Perhaps write the last book where you correlate all your errors and go through all the mistakes and such, and then you die. I would probably try to vanish at the end of the war and be caught by the Allies and hung, so that would be a painful end. But as endings go, it is not that bad. But if I were to defend the guy who gassed 6 million Jews, I would be feeling pretty bad. But, you know, sometimes he takes his stances. But as far as I'm concerned, it is not for me. But this sometimes needs to be said out loud because the cracking of the whip of the Western allies is harsh, harsh. The whip and the control collar is something that is, well, they won. They enslaved us. The end. So, that being said, sometimes thoughts of rebellion rise up, but I believe it is more appropriate in the real sense and more authentic to build a new world, to build a new system, and to not rely on them, to simply enjoy yourself without worry about them. One day they will come for you like they come for all the cattle animals, but until that time, perhaps you can choose to be yourself. But I must admit, the thought has crossed my mind. I have also thought about joining the Allies, incidentally, but if that were to happen, I would join them earlier, and most likely the only thing I would give them is bulletproof vests. I would help them design Kevlar in 1940s. That's the only thing I would probably do for the Western Allies because the average soldier needs protection and the average general needs to be shot. So, the way I see it, it is not an appropriate ending. But if it does come down to it, choices are choices are choices are choices. So, yeah, a staggered withdrawal into pre made defensive lines that are dug behind the active front line in a circle around Berlin so that every other territory is given up and unmanned until Berlin itself has all the remaining Axis soldiers of Europe. Having them all withdraw in good order towards Berlin and make a circle around Berlin is basically the only choice. Put up a delaying action in all the territories that you can, but prepare Berlin to be unto like Stalingrad and do things like move the weapon depots from the exterior part of the city to the very core of the city. There are a lot of stuff that you could do to make the battle last longer, but The reality is that I might not want that battle to last longer. So, but it is something that needs to be said. It needs to be occasionally thought about. And I need to point out that the control color and the whip of the Western powers is sometimes slavery. It is sometimes very troublesome. So, yeah, I can still feel being blamed for it 3 generations later, and I was Kennedy in the intervening life. But, you know, doesn't really matter what good you do if you were Hitler 3 lifetimes ago. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching.